Okay, guys, you can begin.
Okay. Hi, good day. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ray Bartholomew, and I'm joined with Evelyn today and Joy Joseph, and we are presenting on vision and strategic direction. Because Joy Joseph isn't physically with us, she did record her part, and I will be able to play that for you guys once we get there. All right. So a lead to introduce ourselves or to introduce what vision and strategic direction does within leadership. We'll start off with the fact that a leader is or can be described as a person who influences a group of people towards the achievement of a goal. A leader is basically like the drum major in a band who keeps everyone in time driving them forward. Basically, the leader is committed to a purpose, and then the leader influences the people, and the people help to achieve that set purpose. In order to do this, a leader can adapt to many forms of leadership, such as democratic, autocratic, strategic, transformational, laissez-faire leadership, etc. We will be focusing on strategic leadership and what that looks like in our presentation today. In the book Leadership Experience by Richard L. Daft, it looks at a leader as a social architect, someone who knows the organization's environment and considers the future of it, and in that forges a path that everyone can follow and believe in. Based on the book, the leader must be able to bring together key components of strategic leadership, such as vision, mission, strategy, and implementation. So, strategic leadership is the ability to anticipate and envision the future, maintain flexibility, think strategically, and initiate changes that will create a competitive advantage for the organization in the future. And in order to build upon strategic leadership, it always starts at the top of our little pyramid here, where you have your vision, which is where we are heading, what is the idea, what is the goal, our mission, which is who we are as an organization, what is our purpose as the organization or as a community or as a group, the strategy, which is the plan of attack, how do we get there, and then the implementation or the mechanisms for execution, which is what can we do in this moment or in the next few moments to really drive our vision forward. So a vision is basically a well thought out dream, an attractive, ideal future that is credible yet not readily attainable. You are basically at this moment in your current reality, and whatever you've been doing so far, if you continue that pattern of behavior, chances are you'll be staying the course, right? And that's not always a bad thing. It just might not be where your ideal or your dream is, as opposed to having a vision and from your current reality moving towards that desired future, which is your vision, can put you on a different trajectory. So the fact that vision is basically a well thought out dream brings me to an example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his I Have a Dream speech, where he had a vision of racial harmony in which discrimination and segregation would be a thing of the past, and he compelled a lot of people, a community of people, to move forward in that new direction. And I mean, although it seems under attack right now by Trump, which, by the way, Biden was officially elected president like 5 minutes ago, so yay. The idea behind a vision is to show them that the community, or show the community what it could be. A vision is based on the current reality, but is concerned with the future. A leader in this case needs to have a way of like bifocal vision in which they can take care of the needs of today and meet the current obligations while always aiming for the future. They can't just be future orientated or orientated. So let's move on to what a vision does. And for an example, we have Custard's vision statement. Now, a vision can be short and sweet, like Motorola. Their vision statement is to become the premier company in the world. And the New York City Transit, their whole vision is quite literally no graffiti, pure and simple. Or it could be your vision statement can be a bit longer, like Costard's vision statement, which is to be a student-centered, dynamic, and innovative, world-class and multi-campus college, promoting excellence in teaching and learning, serving diverse communities, and producing lifelong learners who can compete globally. So, what a vision does. It links the present to the future by connecting what is going on right now with what the organization aspires to. Costard right now is a school and they have students, and yes, they're trying to be innovative, especially in this COVID time. And they have multi campus colleges, but they have a future goal, which is even to drive that to drive themselves and be more student centered, to be more innovative, to be world class, right? Um, a vision also establishes a standard of excellence and integrity by presenting a focused image of the future, allowing people to see how they can contribute, because it's important for your group and your organization and people within it to know that they are working towards something more. And for Costard, that does what they do is in terms of promoting excellence in teaching and learning, meaning that these students have a goal to learn more and to learn in a full capacity, and teachers have that driving or should have that driving need to connect to the students and really make sure that the students understand the information. Um, a vision also energizes people and garners commitment by giving people something truly worthwhile to commit to, something that makes life better for others or improves their community. And in this way, you want people to be able to commit their time, their energy, and their enthusiasm behind something, behind the vision, right? And something I think is worthwhile in Costard's vision statement is like serving diverse communities. And this doesn't just mean, a poor community or a richer community. It doesn't mean that they're just serving South students and they're not serving North students, because they're trying to be multi-campus college. But it also means that they have the communities of the bio students, the communities of the business students, the communities of the IT students. These are different communities that Costard strives to serve. And a vision gives meaning to work by giving people a larger purpose to their jobs. Costard gives the teachers the ability to mold future minds of tomorrow, right? By producing lifelong learners who could compete globally and make a positive difference. So some of the world's visionaries are people like Elon Musk, Martin Luther King, Bill Gates, Adolf Hitler, because he was a visionary in his own rights, Jane Austen, and the list goes on. So there are common themes of vision. 5 themes are common to powerful and effective visions according to Daft. So the first common and powerful theme is having a broad appeal. A broad appeal means if the other people of your company or group or community don't find it interesting or don't find it worthwhile, you may be hard pressed to accomplish the vision at all. Everyone has to be, the vision has to appeal to everyone within the community, right? The ideal vision is identified with the organization as a whole or the community as a whole, and not with like just the leader, and not even just with like the top tier team of the leadership or of the organization. Everyone has to be on board. The next appeal, or the next theme, sorry, is that visions deal with change. And not many people like change. I'm one of those people who, yes, some change is good, some change is bad, but I prefer to have it, a bit stable. And so, but visions deal with having a bold change that is in line with the broad appeal and is in line with everyone. And it really amplifies the motivation in people to do more and to get moving. It gives everyone something tangible to be proud of. Vision is about wanting to take action and challenges head on. And the best way to get everyone on board who is not, in line with, or who doesn't always like a bold change, is to have a clear sense of direction. Because the more you're able to tell people these are the steps A, B, and C, is the more they're more likely to say, okay, this is something they can manage. This is a change that they can get on board with. A vision also encourages faith and hope. It is a dream, like I said, shaped by people who believe in it. A vision can be an emotional appeal to our needs and desires as human beings. It is important for humans to feel important and useful. And when we feel important and useful within a community or within a group, you'll find that we start feeding into that vision with faith and hope for the future. A vision also reflects high ideals. While a good vision is idealistic, it should not be impractical. Being idealistic is a great way to inspire people to want more and to want what you want as a leader for the company or the group. And then lastly, another common theme is that a vision defines the destination and the journey. It is important that it includes specifics about the outcome of the organization and what they want to achieve. So, for instance, COSTAT wants to produce lifelong learners who can compete globally, but it's important to have specifics towards that goal. They're not just like, oh, everyone now who's going through COSTAT is definitely a lifelong learner. What helps them to keep metrics of if people are learning more and are really taking in a good education is really through testing. And so if COSTAT is like this year, they want 80% of their students to perform within the 90th percentile, then they get, they've achieved a metric goal. And then next year, they want more students to achieve within the 90th percentile. And that gives people a streamlined way to tick off where they are along their journey and their destination. So vision works at multiple levels. The entire time I'm saying organizations, groups, and communities. And while most of the aspects of visions deal with organizations as a whole, having a vision can also be important and powerful for individuals. Successful individuals usually have a clear mental picture of their vision and how they want to achieve it. People who do not have a clear vision of the future have less of a chance of success. And this is not to say that if your dream or your vision keeps changing, you won't be successful, but it is a lot easier when you have people, and you may be one of them, who has a set goal in mind and you just work towards it. There's something driving you forward. I'm not one of those people. Personally, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and that has me a little all over the place. And so I can see where having a clear vision and a clear goal can really move a person forward in their life. So when every person understands and embraces a vision, the organization becomes self-adapting. Although each individual acts independently, everyone is working in the same direction. As such, self-reference is a principle stating that each element in a system will serve the goals of the whole system when the elements are imprinted with an understanding of the whole. And that's really just an example of, you could go with the example of like the human body. When the heart knows what to do and certain cells and tissues all have their own individual jobs and they know what they need to do, then you'll find that the entire body works as a whole. The entire body works in synchronization. And that's what it is in an organization. We are, or the people of an organization and community and group are all parts of a living organization, a living community that drives a vision forward. So I would like to do an activity, and I know a lot of you could do this on your own, and this is straight from the Daft book, where it helps you create your personal vision, or rather it helps put into perspective where you are along creating a personal vision. So the answers, I'll go through it again when I bring up the activity, but if you get a score of typically indicates that you are in great shape with respect to having a personal vision. And if you get a score of 3 and below, for mostly true answers, it will suggest that you haven't really given much thought, or you're not too sure what your vision is for your life. And if you're in between, then you're basically average. So you could just label from 1 to 10, tick off mostly false, mostly true on your paper, and you're counting the mostly true section. So like I said, if you get 7 on the mostly true, you're in great shape. If not, so I can give you guys maybe a minute or two because it doesn't take that long. And if you feel like sharing, I'll appreciate it if at least one other person shares. I'll share my answers or what my results were after I give you guys a minute. A minute never seems so long quietly passing. Oh my gosh. And for those of you doing it, it's important to make sure and try and answer as truthfully as to yourself as possible, because in creating a personal vision is difficult work for most people, and it doesn't really happen that easily or naturally for everybody. So especially like for me. If you're finished answering and you'd like to share what your result was, in terms of if you got 7 or more, 3 or more, you can let me know.
I finished. I got 5.
Right, so a 5 is basically average, and what that kind of says is, you can work towards it a lot more. And believe it or not, you're a lot better than myself. Um, so it's not for you to like come down on yourself and be like, oh, I don't have a vision, but it is a good way to say, okay, well, I'm in the middle of it, and I could probably work on it a little bit more. For me, I got 3, which basically tells me that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. And that's the whole idea.
That's not necessarily true, because life doesn't exactly come with a manual, and everybody moves and accomplishes things at their own pace. So you shouldn't
Exactly.
say you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
I
Okay.
got 5, and well, I understand what you're saying about feeling that you're not too sure what's happening. And I do agree with Anissa as well. There is no manual, so
Exactly.
I can wing it, I wing it, and I'm average.
Right. So for all my average and below average people, things are good for us. Okay, we are getting somewhere. It's fine.
No. Diane Sibrat got 9.
Oh wow. Wow. Yes, Diane. Good job.
Who is
We are
super organized. Let me just say, from working in a group with her, super organized. She makes me look so bad.
Oh, I can imagine. But you know what? On some level, yes, I know that things are okay to not really know everything about where you are in life, but I really do admire people who do know what they want. They seem very driven, and I can say that I appreciate that in a person because it makes a different type of leader. So Diane could be one of those people who really know how to get everything in a row, those organizational types of people. So that's great. Um, Not to stick on this though, we now have Evelyn, and she's gonna go through what a mission is.
Good afternoon, fellow classlings. So I will be talking a bit on a mission within organizations or companies. Um, Firstly, have you guys ever gotten a chance to personally read like the mission statements of the company organizations that you work for? You don't have to answer no. It's just a question to like, get you involved. If yes, have you ever asked yourself where you fit into it? Well, today, as we look at these three aspects of this chapter, um, maybe you could answer these questions. So, firstly, we're going to start with what is a mission? That explains it as a constant reminder to employees of why the company exists and what the founders envisioned when they risked everything to breathe life into their dreams. The mission is an organization's core, broad purpose and reason for existence. It defines the company's core values and a basis for creating the vision. The mission, therefore, represents what the organization stands for. In a nutshell and in simple yet powerful terms, the mission statement proclaims the organization's purpose. It is intended to provide motivation, general direction, an image of the company's character. Through its actions, they are guided by this. Next slide, please. Some mission statements. So in keeping with consistency, we're gonna use Custard's mission statement, which basically says they want to be the premier education institution in providing high quality, affordable, and accessible educational programs while serving the needs of businesses, industries, and diverse campus communities, whilst facilitating the personal and professional development of its students, faculty, and staff. Now, in reading Costa's vision and mission statement, I realized that they are both aligned with each other in the sense that the vision seeks, or they seek in their vision to be students, innovative, dynamic, world-class, student-centered institution, whilst aligning its service to the needs of the business industry and other campus communities. And essentially, it is producing graduates that these listed communities would ultimately hire. Next slide, please. Um, Vision versus mission. The vision and mission of a company are not the same, but they are relative to each other. The vision is the ambitious desire for the future. It's subject to change, especially with external forces. For example, in the rapid phase of advancement of technology, like with Tesla, and their mission is to basically bring the world to full use of sustainable energy, because let's face it, the world is in turmoil basically because of nasty emissions and gases and pollution. The mission too is what the organization stands for. This almost always stays constant and depends largely on what the mission is. Next slide, please. So there's a little comparison with some shoe companies, that's Adidas and Puma. Now, if you look at the screen, you'll see Puma's mission statement is that they believe that their position as the creative leader in the sport lifestyle gives them the opportunity and responsibility to contribute to a better world for generations to come. A better world in their vision is Puma vision. It would be safer, more peaceful, and more creative than the world we know today. Adidas, on the other hand, strives to be the global leader in the sporting industry, with brands built on a passion for sports and sporting lifestyles. They are committed to continuously strengthening their brands and products to improve their competitive position. So which one do you think really and truly have their act together between Puma and Adidas? Anybody? Nobody? Okay,
I would say
so,
Adidas.
and you are correct. Adidas is the largest sportswear manufacturer in Europe And it's second only to Nike. Nike actually boasts $34.8 billion US, like worldwide. Check, please. Pun intended. Um, and they have basically branched out from just sporting goods and apparel to sponsorships. Within recent times, I don't really pay much attention to Beyonce, but within recent times, some videos popped up in my suggestion with Beyonce and her collaboration with Adidas and Ivy Park clothing. So the collaborations are pretty much going well. Thirdly, Puma is still focused on shoes and few sporting apparel and maybe some charities. So they basically, their vision and their mission don't necessarily match each other. So I'd say they need to work on it a little bit. Fun fact though, both companies stemmed from brothers and they split to form Adidas and Puma. Next slide, please. So what does the mission do? The mission serves as the glue that holds the organization together in times of change. Its central focus helps the organization to maneuver within the changes that are happening. For instance, let's use Costard. Being a student at Costard, I've basically made it a habit of more taking online courses during the semesters so that it will allow me to be present and accounted for my kids. I was surprised to know though that Costard had to what's the word I'm looking for, readjust to a full online platform. I actually thought they already had the systems in place for it, being that there was already an e-class. Yeah. So that's one aspect, and it guides the strategic choices and decisions about the future. These assist organizations in deciding the direction that they would take, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the strategic component. It can be used as a tool to assist employees in finding meaning in their work because let's face it, a lot of people, a high percentage of persons are going to work just for a job, just to get paid basically, right? No meaning behind it. It's a salary at the end of the month. I can take care of stuff, right? It acts as a motivator, helping employees work towards one common goal that benefits both the organization and themselves. With this, when the mission is known, employees tend to be more engaged in their work and they won't feel too exhausted on a Monday morning, especially to sit 2 hours in traffic to get to Port of Spain, where most of the government offices are. Next slide, please. Why is the mission statement important? Without a mission, all you have is a dream, a vision. Yeah. Without it, there is essentially no real direction. How can a business make decisions without knowing why they are making them? Yeah. A clear mission will be recognized and supported by those who are guided by it. Johnson & Johnson, within the Daft book, indicated that their values, while it guides the organization, might be a competitive advantage. They indicated that it was not why they had them. They had them because it defined what they stood for and what they hold on to the extent where they basically pulled millions of dollars worth of products, which would have cost them approximately $100 million when there was a cyanide poisoning case with some Tylenol users. They remained guided by their mission statement. Basically, it embodied what they had said in their mission statement, which, to paraphrase them, it provided their customers with a response that is evident of their interests, that leaves them with a clear understanding that they, the customers, are important. Next slide, please. Parts of a mission. some parts of the main parts of the mission is within two critical components. One is the core values, which are the company's principles, their beliefs, their philosophical values, and these support the vision. It also embodies the core purpose, which describes the organization's intention and its purpose, as well as a reason for its existence. These values guide the organization no matter what. Like I was saying in Johnson and Johnson, they risk losing customers to stick to what they hold dear. These are frequently expressed in mission statements. Next slide, please. So, mission's noble purpose. To outline the framework for mission's noble purpose, which are four components, I'll first start with a little additive. An effective mission statement does not just describe products or services, but it captures people's idealistic motivations for why the organization exists. Leaders are responsible for framing a noble purpose that inspires and leads followers to high performance and helps the organization maintain a competitive advantage. Or I should have said, whilst it helps the organization maintain a competitive advantage. Also, people like having a sense of what they're doing matters, and it could ultimately make a positive difference in the world. Next slide, please. So the four components of the leaders framework for the noble purpose are listed here in this table. So it's discovery, which is finding the new, and the basis for its action is like the pioneer. Let's say like American Cancer Society and the Cancer Treatment Centers of America are always doing research to basically eradicate one of the most deadly diseases in the entire world that kills millions and millions of people a year. I'm sorry, I didn't take down the statistics. It would have been nice to state the statistics to give an overview of it. But American Cancer Society and Cancer Treatment Centers of America are just two companies that can be seen as pioneers or entrepreneurs in this aspect. The second purpose is excellence, which focuses on being the best. From this, there's fulfillment. You get a sense of fulfillment in it. And this approach allows or could also be viewed as competitive. Yeah. Next in the listing would be altruism. The description for this is providing service, and the basis for its action is happiness. Some companies that are basically service oriented, like ServiceMaster and Walmart, could fall into this category. And the last component is heroism, which focuses on being effective. And the basis for its action is achievement. Microsoft and Dell could be two examples of this particular purpose. Next slide, please. So I'll delve a little bit deeper in the four components. And to start, I'll start with discovery. Many people are inspired by the opportunity to find or create something new, like I was talking about with cancer research. How many of us own a Samsung phone? Anybody? Yeah, so it's a lot. Yeah. Samsung currently owns 20% of the market share as at the first quarter of 2020, and they are beaten only by Huawei, China again. Yeah. So Daft explained that Samsung have refocused. If you really and truly look at some of their devices, you'll basically see that most of them are very much like each other. It's just that one newer version might have something that the older one doesn't have, but the older one could have something that the newer one that probably replaced then, let's put it like that. So instead of focusing on just manufacturing and imitation, they have re-energized the company by focusing their employees on discovery rather than the manufacturing and imitation of devices. So they basically all the notes that costing all kind of $6,000 and $7,000. They're looking to put in like a whole full-fledged like household systems within one phone. So you can control everything. The only thing is it doesn't control kids. I wish it had an app for that, but unfortunately it does not. Right. Example two, Daft also gave an example of Green Tech, which is a biotechnology company and one of the best in the industry, actually. Their mission is to use human genetic information to develop medicines for serious life-threatening disease, like with the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Next slide, please. Okay, so missions excellence. This approach definitely comes off as competitive, like in school, the teacher would like to motivate students. She'll probably say, okay, whoever does the best will they'll get a star in a book, or she'll put a smiley face on a sticker to motivate students to do better than they normally would on a normal basis. So with this, leaders focus or charge employees to focus on being their best, both individually and at an organizational level. Organizations like these would rather sacrifice their customers than to compromise their commitment to high quality. Johnson & Johnson that I just mentioned earlier falls directly within the scope of this as well, because what they held on to, which was their core values that made them them, they held on to it and sacrificed the loss of millions of dollars to prevent further infection of the cyanide poisoning. Now, if you ask me, I think it's probably sabotage, but who am I to say? Managers and employees are treated as a valuable resource and are provided with the support to perform at their peak. I had a little bit of issue with respect to this one. One, because they're basically referring to living, breathing human beings as resources, which is an inanimate thing. And secondly, because of my personal experience with respect to work, you are not always provided with support to perform at your peak. Because where I am currently, I fall within the category of clerical or administrative staff, and I work with a senior person who's an advisor. And that's what make up the department. There's no, because of the component and the project that he works on, he would definitely need additional staff such as research officers. So within the last 6 years that I've worked there and worked personally with him, he's never gotten a research officer, no matter how much he begged. So it's not all the time companies give you and provide you with the support to perform at your peak. Nonetheless, I'm just saying that's just within the public service for me personally. Next point, people are motivated by the opportunity to experience intrinsic rewards. It gives them a sense of personal fulfillment. Like for me, although I don't really feel like, as I was saying before, like I have all the tools to do my job. When I do the job, or I work around it and find ways around it and complete them to the best of my ability, to the extent where my boss does be like, but Evelyn, you could run the whole ministry, which I doubt. But I do gain, like at the end of the day when I'm leaving, I feel satisfied knowing that, yeah, the little bit that I did, it may not change the entire world, but it could impact at least one component of the job itself or the organization itself. Next slide, please. Mission and altruism, which focuses on fulfillment. To be truthful, I really did not know what altruism means. Did anybody else encounter this word and never realized what it meant?
Anybody? No?
I in the same category too, Evelyn.
Okay. Well, I went in search to be able to answer the question. I went in search to find out what it really means. And what it basically says is it's selfless concern for the well-being of others. And the Oxford Dictionary has a kind of weird description, but it's the fact of caring about the needs and happiness of other people and being willing to do the things to help, even if it brings no advantage to self. Something like this would basically be found more often than not in NGOs, non-governmental organizations and groups. Um, Many profitable organizations too are based on this noble purpose of self-sacrifice and humanity. Daft spoke a little bit about green tech, which I mentioned earlier, but I mentioned them again because their core purpose is to overshadow their employees with idealism, right? So rather than focusing on persons who want um, personal advancement, a high salary at the end of the month, or basically just attention, green tech puts great effort into attracting people who are very much like them. So much so that Daf quoted, you have to go through at least 20 interviews to be to be even considered to enter the company's doors. Yeah. Additionally, hold 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. This company Green Tech was also listed amongst the top 100 companies to work for on the Forbes list magazine. Interesting to note. Next slide, please. Mission and heroism for the competitive mind. With this aspect, the company's purpose is based on being strong, aggressive, and effective. The former CEO of General Electric wanted the company to be number one or number two in each industry in which it did business. Now, this is a pretty far stretch. And to me personally, a downside to this would be to what extent he would have gone to get this done, because we all know white collar crimes exist, right? So good, but it's good in the sense that all companies have a goal of excelling in their respective fields and pushing their employees to be this to use this kind of approach, basically helps the organization and the employees experience a sense of efficacy, because we like feeling, people want to feel capable of producing results and being effective in life, not just with the company. A well thought out approach. This would basically help. Let me see. This would basically help like those who have the competitive mind. It contributes to greater innovativeness and higher employee and organizational performance. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a small activity. You don't have to do it within class because we've already taken up a lot of time. But for yourself, you could probably do this for yourself, or maybe if you're probably thinking about starting a business, you could probably endeavor to do this. Each organization has unique internal capabilities and external opportunities. This should be recognized when developing unique mission statements. The same can be said for an individual and can be attributed to one's life. First, how to go about writing a mission statement. First of all, think a little bit about where you want to be, what the future looks like for you. And remember from the previous presentation and from the earlier slides, you'll see that the mission statements, as Leah mentioned, could be short or they could be long and they could be ambiguous. When you sit thinking about the future, remember too that your mission statement should be clear and specific and memorable. And having done that, I'll refer you to a short list, which is mentioned. The link is in our reference list from a Forbes post. You know, Forbes does always have all kind of articles running about, and they basically summarize and simplifies key steps to create a mission statement. With that, I'd say thank you, and I now hand you back to Leah, who's going to play Joy's slides.
Okay, I'm going to have to pause for a second and then I will start that part as soon as I adjust the volume. So give me a minute. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So now I'm going to talk about strategy in action. So first, we must know what is a strategy. A strategy can be defined as the general plan of action that describes resources, allocation, and other activities for dealing with the environment and helping the organization attain its goals. So the strategy is the plan of action that is designed to achieve the goal or the vision. So what is strategic management? Strategic management is a set of decisions and actions that are used to formulate and implement specific strategies that will achieve a competitively superior fit between the organization and its environment so as it achieves organizational goals. So basically, strategic management is the set of actions and decisions that you use to formulate and implement strategies that would obtain the goal. So now we're going to talk about deciding where to go. When formulating strategy, leaders must ask questions such as, where is the organization now? Where does the organization want to be? What changes and trends are occurring in the competitive environment? And what courses of action can help us achieve our vision? These questions are going to help a leader know the state of the organization, what is happening externally, and help create ways to achieve the vision. Now, developing effective strategy requires listening to people both inside and outside the organization, as well as examining trends and discontinuities in the environment that can be used to gain an edge. So rather than reacting to environmental changes, leaders study the events that have already taken place and act based on their anticipation of what the future might be like. So innovative thinking carries a lot of risk. So sometimes leaders have to shift their strategy several times before they get it right. So in addition, strategy necessarily changes over time to its shifting environmental conditions. To improve the chances of success, the leader develops strategies that focus on three qualities. So these three qualities develop the strategies. They are core competence, developing synergy, and creating value for customers. So now we're going to talk about core competence. An organization's core competence is something the organization does extremely well in comparison to its competitors. So it's basically the organization's advantage that they have over their competitors. And an example the book gave was of a retail company called LL Bean, and they succeed with a core competence of excellent customer service and a quality guarantee. So a customer can return a purchase at any time and get a refund or exchange, no questions asked. Now, they succeed with this core competence because when you look at other companies that are similar to them, they may have the same policy, but they may be time bound. So you could only return within 7 days after your purchase or only on certain items. But with LL it doesn't matter the item, it doesn't matter how long you had it for. You can get a refund, you can get an exchange, you could get a different one, no questions asked. So, synergy. Synergy occurs when organizational parts interact to produce a joint effect that is greater than the sum of parts acting alone. One way companies gain synergy is through alliances and partnerships. As a result, the organization may attain special advantages with respect to cost, market power, technology, and employee skills. So when a company decides to form an alliance or a partnership with other companies, they would usually look at the core competence, what they can gain from the company. So both companies must benefit from the outcome, and they will look at the core competence, what the other parties bring into the table. So they may gain the same thing. They both can gain revenue, cost, or they could one could gain cost and one could gain employee skills. It's really based on what they're trying to gain out of the partnership and the alliance. So creating value for customers. Value can be defined as the combination of benefits received and costs paid by the customers. All customers want to ensure that the money that they're paying for the item is worth it, that they're getting good enough quality, that they're getting a good amount of quantity in whatever the item may be, so the strategy must always be pleasing to the customer. It must benefit the customer. Now, in strategy formulation, this is where you integrate the knowledge of the environment, the vision, and the mission with the company's core competence in such a way to achieve synergy and create value for customers. So when these elements are brought together, the company would have an excellent chance of succeeding in the competitive environment. But to do so, the leaders have to ensure that the strategies are implemented correctly and the actual behavior of the organization reflects the desired direction. So now we're going to talk about deciding how to get there. We first discussed deciding where to go. Now we're going to focus on how to get there. So we must have strategy implementation, and this is putting strategy into action by adjusting various parts of the organization and directing resources to accomplish strategic goals. So you must have two things: a strong leader, and this is the most important tool for strategy implementation, and follower support. These two are essential. Follower support are your team members, are your employees. They both work hand in hand. The leader has to create an environment where persons understand and feel committed to the company's strategic direction. So the image you're seeing now is a simplified model for how leaders make strategic decisions. So when a leader is coming up with or choosing or deciding which strategy to implement, they would put them into these boxes to say which one is going to have a low impact or a high impact, and is it going to be easy to implement or is it going to be hard to implement. So to the top left, we have high impact and hard to implement, and these are major changes but with potential for high payoff. So you're going to see there's going to be a lot of change, and it's going to take some time and effort. It's going to be hard to implement, so the duration may be long because you have to put in a lot of effort, but it's going to, the outcome is going to be major changes. You're going to see a lot of improvements. At the bottom, we have low impact and hard to implement. These are difficult changes with little or no potential for payoff. So the leader must avoid this category. Any strategic decision that is placed in here, the leader would avoid it because it's going to take a lot of time and effort. It's going to be hard to implement. But the outcome is not, you're not going to really be seen because the impact is going to be low. So to the right on the top, we have high impact and easy to implement. And these are simple changes that have high strategic impact. And the leader must take action here first. It's going to have a lot of impact, but it's also going to be easy to implement. So it's going to take a shorter time period and the change is going to be shown. At the bottom, we have low impact and easy to implement. These are incremental improvements, small wins. They pursue for symbolic value of success. So the leader also sometimes pursue these activities because small changes can sometimes be needed to symbolize improvement and success to people within the organization. It may be important for the leader to produce quick, highly visible improvements that would boost morale, would keep the people committed to the larger changes, or even keep followers focused on the vision. So the image that you're seeing here now are the four possibilities of leadership in providing direction. So these types of leaders are described based on their attention to vision and attention to action. So we're going to discuss first the dreamer. The dreamer is good at providing big ideas with meaning for self and others. The leader may effectively inspire others with a vision, yet he or she is weak on implementing strategic action. So the dreamer can come up with great ideas, can come up with great vision, but they're weak on how to implement these dreams, how to implement the goal that they want to accomplish. Uninvolved. Now, this person is low both on providing vision and stimulating action, so not really a leader at all. As the name says, uninvolved. They don't really participate in anything. They don't really bring anything to the table. Now, for the effective leader both dreams big and transforms those dreams into significant strategic action, either through his or her own activities or by hiring other leaders who can effectively implement the vision and strategy. So an effective leader has big dreams and also knows how to fulfill those dreams. And even if they may not know, they know somebody that knows, so they could hire, somebody to implement it well and to get it done. Now, the doer. The doer is a leader that is all action and little vision. So he or she may be a hard worker and dedicated to the job and the organization, but the doer is working blind. So a doer doesn't really have visions, but if you give them a vision, if you give them an idea, they would know how to implement it.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, and
Yes, we can.
and everyone heard the presentation fine, right? Just to make sure.
What was it?
Okay. I just asked if everyone heard the presentation when she was
Yes.
presenting. Okay,
Yes.
great, no problem. So based on that, we have a little question. Harry and John are having a conversation. Harry shared with John a vision he had for the business. John then worked hard and transformed that vision into significant action. While all of this was taking place, Matthew was sleeping in the lunchroom. Who's the dreamer, who's the uninvolved one, and who's the doer? Don't all answer at once.
Uninvolved would definitely be Matthew.
All right.
The dreamer would be Harry because he had the vision. No, he played John, and John would have been the doer because he would have been the one that worked hard and transformed the vision.
Right. Pretty easy, pretty simple, and a lot of us have those interactions with people every day. You know, someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I have an idea, and I just don't know how to implement that idea." You could be the person that helps them drive that idea forward. So it's important to be able to identify these people in your life and in your organization, so you know where to place people, because yes, Matthew was sleeping, but when he's awake, he might be more of a doer too. He might be all on board to actually actually want to take part in, giving Harry's vision life. So, in conclusion, by creating a vision and providing strategic direction, a leader is able to establish an organization's future. The vision is the goal of the organization. The mission is the organization's core values and purpose. The strategy is figuring out ways to turn that vision into reality while following the organization's mission. And implementation is the actual enacting of the strategies to the organization architecture that makes things happen. So we have some recommendations where a vision can apply to a company as well as an individual, a family, a career, and even a college course. Thus, it's recommended that everyone should make a vision statement or a vision board for things that they want to get or do in their lives. By creating a sacred space that displays what you want actually does help bring it to life. What we focus on expands. And when you create a vision board and place it in a space where you see it often, you essentially end up doing short visualization exercises throughout the day. So I actually do have a vision board, and it's really just like a bunch of pictures. It doesn't even have to have words on it. Just a bunch of pictures that's like a girl graduating, me getting a pair of glasses, little things. It doesn't have to be major changes. I have pictures of like words in Spanish and French where it drives me to see the picture and say, hey, here's what. Remember, you want to graduate this year. Remember that you want to get a new pair of glasses this year. Remember that you want to keep learning your French or Spanish. And so having those little reminders throughout the day, those visual images does help one, refocus on, or remind you to refocus on something that you really wanted to get in the first place. So these are our references. And I would like to say that there's this video. You see the picture of the woman on the top right-hand corner. That is Elon Musk's ex-wife. Her name is Jessica, I think. Hold on. And while I think I forgot to link the video in the PowerPoint, but I can share the actual video, this YouTube video, in the WhatsApp so that everyone can listen to it. It's 20 minutes long, so that's why I didn't want to play it now, but she's in a TED Talk and speaking about visionaries and, how to come up with a vision, how to really put what a visionary really does, and how to identify visionaries in the real world. And it's entitled Visionaries Are People Who Can See in the Dark by Justine Musk. So I think that would be really interesting to listen to. And we are done for today. Thank you for listening and for participating.
Okay, so are there any questions? Anybody? All right, I'm gonna pause the recording.